What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Clippers Latest, where we talk all things LA Clippers quick, fast, and to the point. I'm your host, Brandon Goggins, and we've got a lot to talk about today. But first, how are we doing? We just want to get a temp check, see if everybody's doing well. I know that I'm not going to get a direct response, but this is your opportunity to comment down below. How are you really feeling? Are you stressing? Are you letting school stress you out? You letting that job overwork you? Dude, it's Labor Day weekend. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's chill. Let's vibe. Let's just vibe. But in case you weren't able to vibe, I'm here to try and bring some vibes to you. We're going to start off with something more lighthearted today. It's not going to be that crushing content that you can expect once the season starts, because I'm telling you, once October, November come, things are going to get pretty serious. But like I said, we're going to start off with something lighthearted, with something I'd like to call table talk. Now, if you don't follow the Clippers IG, they dropped a Labor Day post with players sitting at 4 different tables with different food items assigned at each table. And they asked the perfect fan question. Which table would you sit at? So I thought that it was fun to go through and look at each table and decide which table could I see myself sitting at for Labor Day weekend. So I'm going to show you guys here without trying to get a glare. Right here, we got a table with Jeff Van Gundy, Ivica Zubac, Brooke Lopez, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Kobe Sanders with some popcorn. That's table 1. I'm gonna go through all the tables before I give my opinions. Now table 2, we got something there. Hold on, let's see if it's in there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Table 2, we got Ty Lue, Chris Paul, Kobe Brown, Trenton Flowers, and Jordan Miller with the pretzel. Yeah, we got Coach Ty Lue and Chris Paul with some of the younger guys on the roster. I'm sure they're spreading plenty of wisdom. Giving the game out, over that feast of a pretzel that is, I would have to assume, split between 5, maybe 6 people if you choose table 2. Let's move on down to table 3, where we have, this looks like a good one. We got Steve Ballmer, John Collins, Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Cam Christie with the hot dog. You can't go a Labor Day without the hot dog. You're supposed to get on that grill. Or if you're not getting on the grill, you need to find a way to get you some barbecue. I say that as somebody that didn't eat any barbecue for Labor Day, but this isn't about me. This is about you. This looks like a fun little group, Steve, I'm already knowing he's cracking some good jokes, along with Bradley Beal and James Harden. I'm sure they got their own dynamic going on. John Collins, I'm sure he has a sense of humor. After the result of his defense on Anthony Edwards, you got to have a good sense of humor. I'm sure he was getting clowned. Shout out to John Collins for withstanding that. And then we got Cam Christie, twin brother of Max Christie. Are they twins? Or do they just look very similar? I'm pretty sure they're twins. They look just alike, and both of them look like they are some funny guys and have a good sense of humor. Then we're going to migrate over to our last table, table 4. We got the fun guy. We got Kawhi Leonard, Chris Dunn, Nicholas Batum, Derrick Jones Jr., and Yannick Conan Niederhauser. And they're eating over some churros, which, hey, I'm not mad at the churros, man. I'm not mad at the churros. Which table? Which table do you guys think that you could see yourself sitting at for the Labor Day weekend? I'm going to have to personally go with table 3. Like I said, I think that Steve Ballmer, he'll have some good jokes to tell and, perhaps some advice to give out. And table 3 is the only one with some real food on there. I'm not going to lie. The churros, like I said, they're nice. Pretzels are all right. Table 1. Why would I want to eat some weak-ass popcorn? That's a choice. That's definitely a choice. But I'm respectfully cool off that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with table 3 here. But yeah, leave you guys' comments in the decision in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear which table you would want to sit at and why. I know that I said that I was picking table 3, but I'm going to have to take a step back and go to table 4 real quick because we need to talk about Derrick Jones Jr. real quick. I feel like DJJ is quite literally the quiet X factor, if you will, on this roster. And I feel like, to be honest, his whole impact this year is almost solely dependent on Tyronn Lue and his decision making. Does he trust him enough to give him consistent minutes on a roster that is full of so many big household names? Or will he let him sit and ride the bench? Which, the 3 and 4 position is pretty deep already on this team as far as rotation guys, but I think that's what makes us so fluid, and I think that's what makes us so scary, is that we have so many guys that could play those positions at any given moment, at any given night. My worry is just that Tyronn Lue won't see the potential in Derrick Jones Jr. I feel like he should have. He got a feel for him last season. Last season he had 24 minutes a night, which is pretty respectable. He started 55 out of the 82 games, and he averaged about 10 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal. He shot 52% from the field and 35% from 3, which, as somebody that isn't really claimed to be a shooter, I feel like that's pretty respectable. That was his best, percentage from deep in years. So I feel like it would be it would make the most sense to let him play, but I do worry that we could kind of see some, DMPs from DJJ on certain nights, But we know what he brings at the end of the day. He's going to bring that defense. He's going to bring the energy. He's going to bring the highlight plays with his athleticism. The Bounce Bros, him and John Collins, it's Lob City 2.0 in here. Shout out DJJ, man. I feel like if he gets some real click, I was going to say clock and tick, but I combined the two and said click. I might need to patent that, like if y'all start stealing my swag, start stealing my lingo and stuff, make sure y'all give me my credit, But nah, if he starts getting some real tick, I feel like he could, I don't want to say this as a disservice to him, but if he's concerned about winning and contributing to the team, it could be like some nights where Kawhi may need to rest to save up energy for the playoffs, because, that's inevitably going to happen, injury or not. I feel like DJJ could step in and kind of be a rotation changer. People wouldn't expect it. If we don't use him in any of that type of way, I feel like he's just another weapon that's going to be unused. So I feel like there's no point in having him if we wouldn't use him. I feel like he's way too valuable. He's too underratedly valuable. My dad said that he was one of his favorite players to watch on the Mavericks team that made that finals run a couple of years ago. And I understand why. He's somebody that you want to have on your team. I don't need to say too much about Derrick Jones Jr. You guys know what's up. You know what he brings to the team. And I want to talk about somebody else that could be brought to the team. And it's probably not who you're thinking. You guys are probably going to look at me crazy. I've had a couple of other takes that, you might have thought about. You might have thought that I was a little crazy for. But, hey, that's what we're here to do. I'm here to talk hypotheticals, looking long-term, looking short-term, looking whatever term, because I can. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, without further ado, I am talking about Olivier Maxence Prosper. It would have been cooler if I could have said his name in one try, huh? But look, Dallas just waived Max, if you want to abbreviate his name. That is his nickname. They just waived him the other day. He was their 2023 first round pick, and they waived him, and they're debating on waiving Jaden Hardy to re-sign Dante Exum, Australian legend. I'll never forget Dante Exum for being my ops in my first 2K ever, 2K15, in the My Career plot. So that just gives me even more fuel to want Omax to come over to this squad, come to the winning team, because Dante Exum has always been the ops. You know what I'm saying? Um, Omax, he spent 2 seasons over in Dallas. He appeared in 92 games, averaged about 10 minutes per game. You know, something slight. His numbers were not the most intriguing. You know, they're not the most enticing. 3.5 points per game, 2 rebounds, little under an assist, and he shot under 40% from the field. I know. Like, it is what it is. Last year alone, he played 52 games. He averaged a little bit over 11 minutes. Averaged just shy of 4 points per game. Again, 2.4 rebounds and point 0.8 assists. You know, went up point 0.1. And he shot 40% from the field with an abysmal 23.5% from 3-point range. And he also required season-ending surgery on his wrist in March. So that could also be another red flag in terms of development. But listen, I'm not here to talk about the negative. I'm here to talk about the positive, the potential. You know what I'm saying? The upside, which I feel like he has plenty of if he's in the right system. They just ain't use him right. Now, given our roster, I don't know if we would use him right, but he's only 23 years old, like I said. He's 6'7", 6'8". He has a solid frame, 7'1" wingspan. You know, that can't hurt, man. He has the tools. He has the intriguing defensive tools and upside that you would want in a prospect. You know, that 6'7", 6'8" type of frame. Like, I don't want to say that that's the prototypical NBA build, but I feel like if you would want to choose a player that can do a little bit of everything, that height is pretty ideal. I mean, LeBron is 6'8", or at least listed at 6'8", and has been dominating the league for 22 years. Jason Tatum is another person. I believe he's listed at 6'8", maybe 6'7". I feel like he's taller than that, but another one of those guys that's tall. You know, LeBron's not slim, but Jason Tatum's not really that slim either, but like kind of lanky, you know, has long arms, long limbs, you know, long body. Pause. But he has that frame that I feel like if coached right and showed how to utilize the tools given, I feel like there's plenty of upside there. And on top of everything, he's a low risk, high reward type of player, you know? With a little bit of cap room in the two-way slot, I feel like we could roll the dice. He's a developmental project who may or may not show some potential before someone else takes him up. I feel like it wouldn't hurt, but you know, I'm just thinking about potential here. I feel like Omax could be somebody that could grow into a good player. Like I said, we don't have too many young guys. A lot of them were sitting at the table with CP3 and Coach Ty Lue. I feel like Omax could join that crew and, you know, learn from the veterans on the roster and, you know, actually see a potential with this Clippers team in the future, because I prefer not to talk about the future right now. And that's all right. But actually, no, I do want to talk about the future, because that leads me to my next point, and that would be regarding Mr. James Harden. Now, we all know the narrative surrounding James Harden about his performance in the playoffs year by year. And we know about his performance drop-off from the regular season to the postseason. Last year in the series against Denver, 18.7 points per game, 43% shooting. In the regular season, you know, he was cool. 23 points per game. He had 40 20-point games, 8 30-point games, 3 40-point games, and he even threw a 50 ball in there. But when we needed him most, in Game 7 against the Nuggets, my brother, my boy dropped a 7. A 7. Stinker. 25% shooting. Call him quarter. I think that's a huge red flag. And it's not that much time for the flag to get any greener. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't expect this to be ignored for too much longer by the Clippers front office. I believe that there are already talks about it. He'll have his player option, I believe, next season. So, he could very well be traded if it comes to it. If he performs in that same regard next postseason, I hope that he would get it together, but it's a narrative that has been proven right almost every time. But Chris Paul, they almost is, almost doesn't really get you anywhere. But Chris Paul, Chris Paul, that year with the Rockets, well, I guess the couple of years with the Rockets, they saw their probably most playoff success, at least in James Harden's eyes. So hopefully a reunion could, we could see a little positive come out of that. Time is a ticking, and the Clippers are giving him one last shot. If he delivers, he rewrites his legacy in LA. Carry on, he'll forever be cemented as one of the greats. If not, his age plus that history, that'll make it pretty easy for the Clippers to move on and focus elsewhere. Because like we've said time and time again, this is a win-now roster. So I would not be surprised if we see a team implosion if we do not see any success in the playoffs, which I'm not hoping for at all. I hope that we have a happy fairy tale ending. But we need to be prepared for what could come. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. And that's all I have to say for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like down below. Drop your comments in the comment section below. I don't know why I said comments in the comment section below. Drop your thoughts. But if you have comments, then comment, Which table you sitting at? Do you think that Derrick Jones Jr. could be an X factor? Is Omax is there any potential in Omax, or am I just chatting? You can let me know honestly, brutally honestly, in the comment section below. And do you think James Harden will get his act together by the next postseason? I really hope that he does. I have faith that he will. But you always just have that little bit of nerves in the back of your mind. But we're not gonna speak positive. We're not gonna speak negatively. We're gonna manifest positive things only. PMO, positive mindset only. And with that, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Y'all keep it easy. Peace.